Destination set.
Oh, it's just getting the flight set up and was adjusting audio volume. Sometimes this will make it do it, but I may have to force quit. Yep. And reset everything up again. Oh. There we go. Now it's launching. I apologize, technical difficulties here. So it goes. But originally I wasn't going to be streaming today, however, a meeting that I was supposed to have earlier got postponed till next week, so I've got a couple of hours of free time this afternoon, and so we will actually, you know what, it's just easier if we go ahead and do this. I've got to double check. I think there is a borderless window version of FSX you can download that will work, and then I can use my second monitor at will. But at any rate, select aircraft, load for 1300. Go ahead and load it up. Want to get in at least 2 flights with every aircraft, and this will be flying. This is an actual air route that would have been flown most likely by either an MD-80 or probably a 727-200 as opposed to the 100 from Dayton, Ohio to Kansas City, Missouri. Should be raining, according to the... There we go, that looks about right. Alright, let's go back to the flight planner. Load IFR, Dayton, Cox, Dayton International to Kansas City. I'm gonna want 28,000. Nope. And I do have a nav log here. Alright. So 78 passengers here. '78. Didn't know you could do that. Learn something new every day. We should have plenty of fuel. KMCI. 1 hour. 117 on the flight plan here, so we're just going to go ahead and add 30 minutes to that and say 1 hour 45 minutes.
Destination set.
And go ahead from a normal 5-minute load time.
Check flight control. Check and
And the flight engineer with Captain Sim will do the rest. As I'm going to silence my phone. Alright. Get the APU started here. Doesn't need to be on. Galley power is off. Set to APU. Set to APU. And let's go ahead and commence boarding operations. Test. Looks good. Standby. Oh, that looks good. 117.5 over here. And then we're going to run 116. 3. Okay, navigational radios are set. Okay, everything here looks pretty good. Let's set up our flight director. Adapters on. Compass. Here looks good. That looks good. Smoking seatbelt signs are on. Pitot heat is on. Technically we didn't need those on yet. Alright, time to get our clearance.
Bravo 3901 is cleared to Kansas City Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 11,000. Departure frequency at 118.85, squawk 1376. Tango Bravo 3901 cleared to Kansas City Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 11,000. Departure on 118.85, squawk 1376. Tango Bravo 3901.
Set.
Read back correct. Contact ground on 121.9er.
few minutes on the emergency lights. Don't appear to be working. Hello. Pumps on. Gotta turn our fuel heaters on. Make sure those are on. Would be a good idea.
All passengers are aboard.
Okay. Well then, ready for pushback. Taxi light on, beacon light on. Get the throttle quadrant in position here. Man, I'm just completely unprepared today. Once our engine restart.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we would like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened and your seats in an upright position. In case of a drop in cabin pressure, breathing masks will
Engine
drop from the ceiling and should be
restart.
placed over your head. If there is smoke in the cabin during the
Detent.
evacuation of the aircraft, the walkway emergency lights will direct you to the exits, which are located here and here. In case of an extreme emergency landing, you will be instructed to get into the brace position, which is executed by placing your head between your knees with your hands over your head. We would also like to remind you to turn off all electronic devices. We thank you for paying attention during this brief presentation.
Alright, turn on our hydraulics. Oh, we look to be look to be good here. I don't see any other idiot lights on. Clear the gate. Yep. Just barely.
Dayton Airport information. Uniform 1713 Zulu. Wind 19657. Visibility 2 in range.
Turn on the music for the passengers.
Clouds at 2000, ceiling 5500, broken. Temperature 23, 2.22, altimeter 2995. ILS, runway 18 in use. Landing and departing runway 18.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our flight, flying the 727-100 in the TWA, the old Transworld Airlines livery. Today's flight should approximately be 1 hour and 45 minutes from gate close to arrival at Kansas City International. Weather today is not that much of a concern. There's heavy rain at the moment, but no thunderstorms in the area. And weather looks clear, just broken clouds at Kansas City. So flaps 5 for takeoff. Takeoff trim set. Weather radar on standby. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the weather radar. There's nobody in front of us to irradiate, so it should be safe to do so. We have VOR 2 and VOR 1, our next two navigational destinations, plugged in to the nav radios. We will be departing to the north. Anything? No, nothing last minute here. Looks like needs our attention. Wow, we are taxiing. We're getting a good view of the Dayton, Ohio airport.
Approaching 24 right.
Runway's kind of out there, like 1129 is at St. Louis. This is a historical air route. It was flown by TWA in the late 70s, early 80s, probably utilizing the 727-200 as opposed to the 100 as we are flying today. Again, the vast majority of the TWA 727-100s were flown in Europe, not the United States.
Approaching 18.
Runway 18. Clear for takeoff. Runway 18.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now clear for takeoff.
On runway 18.
In our takeoff roll.
knots. V1. Rotate.
Continue.
Positive rate. V2 plus 10. Gear up.
Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Contact Dayton departure on 118.85.
Slats retract.
Going to 118.85. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Dayton departure, Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Is at 2,600, climbing 11,000. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Dayton departure, Roger. Altimeter 2994. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Turn left, heading 030. Resume on navigation. Climb and maintain 11,000. Turn left, heading 030. Proceed on course. Climb and maintain 11,000. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Turn left, heading 360. Turn left, heading 360. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1.
portable electronic devices.
Passing 10,000 feet, Captain.
Indianapolis Center, Tango Bravo 391, descent 10,700, climbing 11,000. Tango Bravo 391, Indianapolis Center, roger, altimeter 2993. Tango Bravo 391, climb and maintain flight level 210. Climb and maintain flight level 210. Tango Bravo 391.
Auto flight.
Tango Bravo 391, contact Dayton, departure on 118.85. 118.85, Tango Bravo 391. Indianapolis Center, Tango Bravo 391, descent 12,300, climbing flight level 210. Tango Bravo 391, Indianapolis Center, roger, altimeter 2993.
Okay. I just got a black screen for a second. Always comforting. So I can get the course. Alright, so services on board. Let's start a movie. Episode of the Mythbusters.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just started the in-flight movie displaying on the screens ahead. You will find a set of headphones to your left. You can adjust the language and volume on the dials next to your seat.
Turn right heading 025, resume on navigation.
Reaching transition altitude, Captain.
Sorry, we can't serve passengers at this altitude. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving drinks. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving sandwiches.
Tango Bravo 391, contact Indianapolis center on 128.075. Going to 128.075. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. Indianapolis Center, Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1 is climbing through flight level 202 for flight level 210. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, Indianapolis Center, roger. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, climb and maintain flight level 280. Climb and maintain flight level 280. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
So 4 nautical miles, and then our next heading will be 272. So we're above the weather. Next frequency is going to be 112.7.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. You may now take off your seatbelt, but we encourage you to remain seated with your seatbelt fastened at all times.
Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, turn left heading 205. Turn left heading 205. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
On our way. Cockpit.
Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. Contact Indianapolis Center on 135.125. Going to 135.125. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
And we should be up to cruise altitude here momentarily. Start to level off a little bit.
Indianapolis Center, Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. With you, flight level
Barometer set.
278. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. Indianapolis Center, roger.
Altitude hold on. Start to pick up some speed here. So drinks and snacks are being served. At the moment at least, we seem to be pretty good. Cloudy, stormy day over Ohio, but we're up and above the rain. And on our way to Kansas City.
Tango Bravo 391, turn right heading 240, proceed on course. Turn right heading 240, resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 391.
TWA. Speedbird out there. Now we just let the miles kind of tick down here.
have a drink for you, Captain. Here you are.
JetBlue 323, contact cargo center on 119.85. Going at 119.85, JetBlue 323.
So just making sure everything is good to go here. So the first round of snacks are out. They are watching an episode of Mythbusters. And we're about to cross. Oh, we have crossed over into Indiana as we approach Indianapolis here. Huh. It's 8. So nothing on the weather radar. I think it should be pretty well clear, although there was a cluster of thunderstorms earlier around Springfield, Illinois, so there could be some turbulence up ahead.
Indianapolis Center, Tango Bravo 391 with you. Tango Bravo 391, Indianapolis Center, roger.
It does look like the speed brakes are slightly deployed. So the CH control, I've got to increase some dead zones on my CH control throttle, or throttle quadrant. Lap switch. Really, but no. Huh. Interesting.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I did not realize that we had alternate announcements. But apparently... Oh. So I can't apparently set the speed brake to make sure that what's happening is it's not detecting that it is fully in the down position. Can I access it through here? Nope. Interesting. Did not realize. Yeah, you can see that the speed brakes are just ever so slightly deployed. Right there. Let me see what I have. Buttons, keys, control surfaces, spoilers, arm. Okay, so that button.
Spoilers deployed.
Alright, so now they should be fully retracted. Yeah, now they're fully closed. Note to self. Increase spoiler dead zone. And CH control manager. Also, thrust reversers. So they're not all going off as planned. Whenever I need to call upon reverse thrust. Fortunately, we should be landing on a pretty long runway again today. So yeah, today's flight has so far been uneventful. Of course, I believe this scenario does have a 5% chance of a fixed failure rate. So something exciting and fun could happen. So how is everybody out there today?
Wow, this passenger drank like 12 sodas. I think we might run out. Okay. So I think I have about 2 or 3 more flights before we get to the national company rating, at which point we'll need some long-range aircraft. I guess the question begs now, what do you want to see? I've got the Boeing 707, that's a likely next candidate for classical era. Or we have the potential we could go for a wide body, such as the L-1011. Usually I can find a good deal on one of those in FsPassengers to purchase that. I don't think we're quite to the point where we can afford a DC-10, or we could go with another mid-range jet as in an MD-80. So yeah, I guess we're kind of to that point. What should be the next jet purchase and fly with FsPassengers? MD-80, DC-10, L-1011, Boeing 707. I think those are the 4 choices, although DC-10 may be pushing it at this point. I don't think that we have enough money to do that yet. So let me know which aircraft you'd like to see next. Well, we might have to do a couple of revenue flights in the 732, or 727-200, or 72S. But once we become a national company, then we can fly the 72S up to New York, which will probably be a 3 or 4 hour flight. In fact, I'm hoping to be there. If I have to do one more flight tonight, I will, or today. I'll do a short flight to like Brownsville, Texas, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, something like that from Dallas. Let me know about views and stuff like that if you prefer to stay in external. I mean, every once in a while I do have to, I guess, I do want to go into the cockpit and double check on a few things.
We're heading into Illinois here. The last check that I had on thunderstorms is there's a line of showers about in the Springfield area over here. We may hit the south end of that. I'm not exactly sure. Kilometers to our next destination, 69 from our last. On the radar scope. So kind of keep an eye on that. Imagine we should be switching over to Kansas City Center here in a few minutes at most. What was I saying about switching over to Kansas City Center? Didn't know better. I'd say that I've flown in this part of the country a few times before. Kind of the point here where I've said just about everything there is to say about the 727 series and TWA. I've covered in previous flights extensively over the years, being from St. Louis and knowing about, well, just the history from growing up around, well, living around pilots and mechanics and aerospace engineers and McDonnell Douglas. So I've said my piece. I will say that I think that this is my favorite aircraft. The 727-100 in particular is my favorite pay-wear aircraft that I have for FSX, and yeah, I will kind of miss it when I move on. I got to looking, and it does not look like any of the Captain Sim products that I own will transfer over to Prepared 4. So this is kind of the last hurrah, this series of videos with the Captain Sim products, which I purchased most of them about a year ago, and really haven't had that much opportunity to fly. I'm not going to delete or uninstall FSX anytime soon, but I don't know, as far as content-wise, FSX is on its way out in favor of Prepared and X-Plane 11. And I will probably be moving over to X-Plane 11 in the next month. There's still another FsPassengers series I would like to undertake. Beyond this, but I just don't know. I probably will. And then I'm going to shift over to Air Hauler with Prepared probably in the next month or so.
I have some hot food for you, Captain. Here you go.
And then I've got to look up on, you know, whether or not Mega Scenery Earth and stuff like that is supported. Because I do have Photorealistic Missouri. And if I do go with Prepared, if they do support version 4 with Mega Earth Scenery, I will repurchase Missouri whenever they come out with their 4X or 4K or whatever the next high resolution version of it is. Probably along with Illinois. I do like having photorealistic textures for areas of the country that I actually do fly VFR in. There's good and there is bad about that. I think the textures look better at like 10,000 feet than they certainly do at 500 feet. But whenever you are flying VFR, you can get some visual cues and visual landmarks of certain buildings and things like that that you see from the air. But that can also be deceptive because photorealistic textures are a snapshot in time. A building that was there in 2012 or 2014 or 15, 16, whenever that photo was taken, may or may not be there today. So it's one of those things that you can't completely rely on it, but it is nice for me to be flying and recognize some visible landmarks like Mid-Rivers Mall or Chesterfield Mall. But again, this time next year, Chesterfield Mall could very well not be there. That place is about dead if it wasn't for the IMAX theater and the American Girl store, doll store, and the restaurants that are around the theater. I think that place would be shuttered. As more and more malls die across the country. If I don't appear totally responsive, well, I'll reply kind of in chat and stuff like that, but as we're flying through here, I'm actually working on my laptop next to me here. I'm working on aircraft configuration files for my add-on for X-Plane. So I'm, what do they call it, multitasking? And this is traditionally one of the reasons why I've liked flight simming since I've been working from home. I just haven't normally done it. I've recorded a bunch of videos that just I never got around to editing and then putting onto YouTube for whatever reasons over the course of the past year. Now last year I was trying to do a series called Skiers and Snowbirds, and FSX just shit the bed on me. And I didn't really have a chance to deal with it and reinstall everything until literally Christmas break last year, whenever I had a week off from work, from day job work. Which, this year I'm not quite as busy. There wasn't much to do in terms of new features for my day job. And what there was, I basically got done in June. All the other major revisions to the website that I do all the technical management side of things for is on the art department, with changing the layout and design. Occasionally they have to call me if they need to change something with a development server or something like that, but CSS and images is not my domain, so somebody else gets to do that work. I just have to make sure that everything else works. But we've been running this website for about 4 years, 3 years, 4 years? I think I started developing it 4 years ago, and have been maintaining it for 3 years. We kind of know what our loads are going to be like. We know kind of when they're going to peak and stuff like that, so it makes it a lot easier for planning and stuff like that. Originally, I was going to put all this aircraft database information, or aircraft information into the database instead of a configuration file, but I decided to go ahead and make them configuration text files. Then if aircraft do change with different like custom data refs and stuff like that, I should be able to access that or change those files a lot easier. And it should allow people to also create their own custom passenger configurations, let's say for one airline versus another, because one uses 31-degree pitch seats, the other one uses 28, or however that is. So if you're trying to configure for virtual Ryanair versus
A baby
Delta.
was crying in the third aisle, and a man told her to shut up.
Well, babies can be annoying. It's kind of what they do there for first about 6 months. I will be finding out in about let's see here, August, September, October, December. 7 months, 8 months, sometime in that time frame. Which is something that, again, I don't know what I'm going to do as far as content next spring. You may be seeing I may try recording a series of videos, kind of as I've done previously. Haven't quite decided yet. I'm gonna call it up bigger screen. Looks like there could be a little bit of rain. Small store up ahead, or then the other part is we could get a massive weather update, and there could be a lot of rain around. About 110 nautical miles. It looks like there might be a little bit more out there. Tilt the radar down a little bit. Well, should be below us, but I don't think there's a front there, so maybe it won't be quite so turbulent.
Turn right, heading 075, resume on navigation. Turn right, heading 075, proceed on course. Delta 1994. Delta 1994, contact Kansas City Center on 124.3. 124.3, Delta 1994.
Checking our fuel. £5,800, burning about 3,000 pounds per hour. We're going to want to watch this as we start to get to our descent. We'll need to open up the cross feeds.
135.525 for Tango Bravo 391. Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 391 with you. Tango Bravo 391, Kansas City Center, roger.
Interestingly enough, they don't give us another frequency after... Yeah, they don't give us a board frequency for MCI for the Vortec there. Go look it up in the flight sim database, but something I have learned the hard way is that real-world cards and information and what's in the flight sim database aren't necessarily the same thing. I think I was once upon a time trying to fly into San Diego, and I had the latest and greatest FAA cards for landing frequencies and stuff like that. And the real world frequencies and what the game uses as frequencies were two very different things. I kept wondering why I was trying to line me up with runway at the Naval Air Station instead of where I was supposed to be landing. I know there's some updates for the NavAid databases, but I haven't bothered trying to install them. I did install the freeware add-on for Lambert, or for St. Louis Lambert International Airport, that added the 1129 runway. But so yes, let me know in the chat what aircraft should fly next. I'm ready to cross into Missouri here. can tell we're getting ready to go into Missouri because the textures change from auto-generate to photorealistic. Alright, that just looks like pop-up afternoon thunderstorms. Bit of rain below us. Plan to arrive in about 36 minutes. See if we can capture on that. Ooh, what airport is this? Yeah, St. Louis. Don't know if they're boarding or... getting off.
1408. Contact Kansas City Center on 127.275. 127.275.
Hello, Amir. Flying into Kansas City here. Shouldn't be too much. Again, a planned arrival in about 33 minutes. And that's to the gate. Should have just arrived over Twain on our way to Sags. Yep. ETA 8 minutes. That's just Drivel and KCMI, so well, we should be getting an order to descend here before too long.
Tango Bravo 3901. Contact Kansas City Center on 125.25. Going to 125.25. Tango Bravo 3901.
Okay, don't think we're going to have to do any cross feed on the fuel. Still looks good. If we get in here in time, we're going to probably continue on to St. Louis from Kansas City. Should have enough fuel. We shouldn't need to put any more fuel into the aircraft. Oil temp looks good. Need references? Here they are on the desk. Need them in a readable texture? Not so much. JT8D9. Hahaha. 727-200, but we're in a 100. Cloudy day today. So far, a rather uneventful flight. Starting to get things kind of sort of settled for
American 116. Contact Kansas City Center on 135.525. Going to 135.525. American 116.
beginning to our descent phase fairly quickly, I would think. Everything else looks good. Should be good on fuel. Burning approximately 3,000 gallons or 3,000 pounds per hour. About 3,250 per engine. So we should actually have about an hour, probably 2 hours of fuel left in those engines. Weather radar. Well, there's some stuff over here, but it doesn't look like there's anything on our flight path here. Looks like some spot afternoon rain showers up ahead. Hello there, Bonnie says. Of course, this is an old-fashioned radar system. It wouldn't be Doppler like they have in modern jetliners.
Hello, Captain. I have some sandwiches for you. Enjoy.
(727-100) Captain Sim today, sporting the classic TWA 1980s livery. I guess 1980s into the early 90s. Now, interestingly enough, there we go. So the classical era. Now, TWA did not fly the 727-100 in the United States. It primarily served their European continental routes, or I guess you'd say their European domestic. Well, I'm about to say that was kind of before the era of the European Union, but serviced primarily the airports over in Europe as opposed to transcontinental routes or U.S. domestic. But so far, this is my favorite tube-liner to fly in FSX, at least. I picked it up with basically most of the rest of Captain Sim's inventory back in 18 months ago. They have a sale every year in January where they put their products up for sale for $10, and I picked this up 2 years ago, and then I think last year or earlier this year I picked up the 200 and the 732. So we reached waypoint Sags, now going to Drivel. Maybe descending into a little bit of weather here.
Contact Kansas City Center on 135.
gentlemen, we are descending to our destination. Please fasten your seatbelts and make sure all portable electronic devices are securely stowed so that we may secure the cabin for arrival.
Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, with you, flight level 201. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, Kansas City Center, roger.
A little bit of rain right in front of us. You don't like the classics. I like the steam engage era aircraft. Fewer magenta lines. I've said this before in other streams. I prefer to fly a Cessna 172 with a gauge package, with the old school steam.
Bravo 3 Niner 1, descend and maintain 12,000. Descend and maintain 12,000. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
Then I do say a Garmin G1000. That's in the DA20.
Kansas City Center, Southwest 3248, with you, flight level 330.
Welcome there, fartlets.
Kansas City Center, roger.
Well, I'm about to say the 707 ushered in the jet era of civil air transportation. 727 is the aircraft that built most modern airlines. And a number of airlines, including TWA, that aren't here anymore, but more or less likely, if you were on a short to medium haul route in the 70s and 80s and 90s, up until the early 2000s,
Transition altitude,
you were flying on a 727. Although the 737 has edged it out in the last 30 years as the ubiquitous platform that or the Airbus A320 series. But it's very interesting because the 100 would serve a role today in terms of number of passengers, more short haul routes that would be serviced by regional jets like the Embraer 135, 145 series or the CRJ 700, 200, 700, 900. Or even the E-Jet series 175, 195s.
Kansas City Center, Southwest 835, with you, flight level 300. Southwest 2142, turn left, heading 045, climb and maintain flight level 330. Southwest 835, Kansas City Center, roger. Turn left,
Keep an
heading
eye on the
045,
weather radar.
climb and maintain flight level 330. Southwest 2142.
We've got descent instructions, but we don't have heading or runway assignment.
125.25, Southwest 324.
No, it's kind of cloudy, overcast. I don't know if it's raining or probably just dealing more with spot afternoon, late July, early August thunderstorms popping up.
City Center, Southwest 234, with you. Southwest 234, Kansas City Center, roger.
Doesn't look like there's anything ahead of us here.
Tango Bravo 3 Niner.
There we go.
You report 6 miles east, turn left, heading 210, expect vectors ILS, runway 1, right approach. Turn left, heading 210, expect vectors ILS, runway 1, right approach. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. Southwest 234, contact Kansas City Center on 127.9er. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1. Contact Kansas City approach on 119.0. 119.0 for Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
requested.
127.9 report south. Kansas City approach, Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1 is at 10,600, climbing 12,000.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, Kansas City approach, roger, altimeter 2, Niner 6. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, contact Kansas City Center on 135.575.
135.575 for Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1 is at 11,800, climbing 12,000. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, Kansas City Center, roger, altimeter 2, Niner 6.
Okay. Now that we've got a second here. One right approach here. Go look up if it will allow me to go over here. One right, 110.75. Set up flight director for auto approach. Get a little bit closer. Okay. Below 10,000 feet yet, so
Southwest 835, contact Kansas City Center on 125.25. Going at 125.25, Southwest 835.
may have misestimated. Well, we spent a lot of time on the ground in Dayton. They had us taxi around the airport get to our takeoff runway.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, turn right heading 240. Turn right heading 240. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, descend and maintain 6,000.
Nope, that's not what I wanted to do.
Descend and maintain 6,000. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1.
6,000.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1, contact Kansas City approach on 119.0. Going to 119.0. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 1.
So I want to keep it below 250 knots as we approach 10,000 feet.
Kansas City approach. Tango Bravo 3, Niner
And then
1.
we'll go turbulence.
11,200.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign, as we are currently experiencing some turbulence. Please fasten your seatbelt.
Because it's FsPassengers,
Descending below 10,000 feet.
and we'll go ahead and turn on those lights because FsPassengers.
gentlemen, we are descending to our destination.
No auto
Please
throttle in the
fasten your
aircraft,
seatbelts
of
and
course.
make sure all portable electronic devices are securely stowed so that we may secure the cabin for arrival.
I expect at least one more step down to 2,000, 2,600. What's the radar starting to look like? You hear about 180.
Slats extended.
Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1. Turn right heading 285.
Turn right heading 285. Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1.
.285. Ooh. 180. So we'll be landing from the south at runway 01.
Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1. Contact Kansas City approach on 118.9er.
118.9er. Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1. Kansas City approach. Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1. With you.
Tango Bravo 3, Standard 1. Kansas City approach. Roger. Altimeter 29997.
We didn't get a hiccup there, did we? HSA. So yes, I do have photorealistic Missouri installed, and it doesn't look too terribly bad from this altitude.
American 1104, turn right, heading 070. Turn right, heading 070, American 1104.
So we have localizer capture. At least it's detecting it. About 25 nautical miles out.
Tango Bravo 3901, descend and maintain 2,800. Descend and maintain 2,800. Tango Bravo 3901. American 1104, turn right, heading 100. Turn right, heading 100, American 1104.
Well, we're going to have pretty precise arrival time. Should be on the ground in about 6 minutes. Although, due to the way that Kansas City Airport is designed, it shouldn't take us too long to taxi to the gates and be right there. Very consumer-oriented design. Very bad for security. Designed in an era before hijackings and all that fun stuff.
$2,500.
Tango Bravo 3901, you are 23 miles south, turn right, heading 340. Descend and maintain 2,800.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
2,800 until established on the localizer. Contact International Tower on 128.2. American 1104, you are 19 miles southwest, turn left, heading 040. Descend and maintain 2,600 cleared. ILS, runway 1 left approach. Maintain 2,600 until established on the localizer. Contact International Tower on 125.75. Turn right, heading 340. Climb
And capture.
800, cleared ILS, runway 1, right approach. Maintain 2,800 until established. Tower on 128.2. Tango Bravo 3901.
Hey there, Infinite Flyer.
Turn left, heading 040, climb and maintain 2,600. Cleared ILS, runway 1, left approach. International Tower, Tango Bravo 3901 is 20 miles south. Inbound ILS, runway
Flaps 5.
right approach. Tango Bravo 3901, International Tower, make straight in, runway 1 right, altimeter 2,997.
Flaps 15.
Make straight in, runway 1 right, Tango Bravo 3901.
Okay. Everything looks good for ILS approach. Flaps 15. Gonna maintain about 160 until we capture on the glide slope. And go down to about 150. Normally where I like to fly it in. Whether or not that's correct procedure for this aircraft or not, whole nother story, but weather update. Should be turning to 010 here any second, I would think. A little bit more throttle. Okay, yeah, we haven't quite intersected the line yet. Okay, weather render to standby. Miles.
Gear down.
Check gear down.
Gear down.
3 green. Yes, it is. I like the Captain Sim 727. I like the Flying JSim 727 on X-Plane. But the 100, which is what we're flying here today, is by far my favorite variant. In the TWA livery here. Don't worry, I will do replays of the landing upon completion.
Flaps 25. VRAP plus 15.
Alright, flaps 30. I'll keep it around the 140 mark for glide slope capture. Ooh, nice low cloud bank here.
Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, clear to land, runway 1 right. Clear to land, runway 1 right. Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1.
And we will be riding ILS down to 100 feet, which is the limit for a Category 2 ILS system, such as this aircraft would have installed on it.
Kansas City, airport information, Bravo 1852 Zulu, wind 010 at 10.
Okay, so we got a 10 knot headwind.
One thousand.
Approaching 01 right.
Five hundred. 500. 400.
Approaching minimum.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
100.
100.
50.
50.
40.
40.
30.
30.
20.
20.
10.
10.
Reverse thrust available.
Come on. Once again, I'm having trouble getting reverse thrust to actually activate.
80 knots.
80 knots.
Reverse thrusters engaged.
4,000 feet
60 knots.
So that's a programming problem on my CH Control Manager profile.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
So I need to bind that to a secondary button just in case.
Tango Bravo 3 Niner 1, contact ground on 121.65. 121.65 for Tango Bravo 3
Alright,
Niner 1.
landing lights, taxi lights on, navigation lights off. Taxi to the gate. We're about 5 minutes late. Well, wasn't a crosswind today. So that was a pretty easy landing. All in all, 10 knot headwind. A couple of days ago, I was landing in the middle of a thunderstorm and landed a little bit heavy, a little bit hard. Popped a tire. So now autopilot is disengaged. Go ahead and retract flaps. Oh yes, and put on some music for our passengers as we approach the gate. Once I've ended the flight, I will go back and do a review and instant replay of the landing. It's just that I can't do that with FsPassengers on, because that will really throw FsPassengers for a loop. So I have to wait until I'm to the gate and then go through and figure out whereabouts the approach took place. Not a lot of traffic here today at Kansas City. But ILS makes it easy. I've gotten decent at visual approaches, and the 100, the 200, I haven't tried enough, frankly. But I may very well continue on, literally, I've got time, and conduct another flight from here to St. Louis. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. We get a three-legged journey, as it were. Again, TWA in the United States flew primarily the 727-200, as opposed to the 100 variant. They flew these mostly in Europe, on European domestic routes. Germany to Italy, Italy to Egypt. Excuse me. Germany to Egypt were the big routes that this aircraft was flown with the TWA livery, hence why this aircraft is the city of Frankfurt. Well, we're getting a nice tour of the Kansas City airport, but they really wanted us to taxi all over the planet. Apologize for that. Seriously, they want us to go around the planet. Well, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this tour of Kansas City, and what used to be called the Mid-Continent International Import, or Mid-Continental International Airport. Now Kansas City International, but still retains the Kilo Mike Charlie India. ITAT, or IATA, or is that an IAS, or ICAO? I think it's ICO. But at any rate, lettering designation. Fortunately, however, we should have a very easy coast in here to the gate. No major turn. I was about to say, don't say well done until you see my parking job. But this is a little cheaty. I like this gate, even if you do have to taxi all the way around the freaking airport in order to get to it here. Okay. Parking brake on. Turn off engine 1. I don't think I have a generator on that. Gauge APU. Set to APU. And engine shut off.
Gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit, and please
and
make sure
we'll
you
get
have
the
all
thing
your
here.
personal items and carry-on luggage.
Yeah. Alright, so nice landing at negative 200 feet per minute. 127 knot landing. A little bit fast. Exceptional flight. 100% rating. And 1.6 million in sim bucks. It'd be nice if you could make an if you're running an airline and could make these type of profits. Well, we'll just say for the time being that this was prior to deregulation, you know, and everything was regulated to where airlines could make a profit. Landing pitch 5.6%. That's about where it should be. Penalty points, again, this is because it can't detect with this aircraft when the landing lights are on or not on, and same thing with strobe light. So you usually lose around 100 points with this aircraft no matter what you do. Very nice landing, perfect flight, scheduled airport, satisfied. Alright, we're going to go ahead and record this flight. And go ahead and save 560 seconds, see where that puts us. So in the old TWA livery. A little bit on a crosswind. Pretty much together, pretty close to center line. Spoilers up. And then I need to go make some adjustments to my CH Control Manager profile for the throttle quadrant in order to get thrust reversers to deploy correctly. Take a look from go ahead and put it back to 560. What it looked like from the tower. Go ahead and hide the menu bar. Dead center of the and notice how this is why it screws up FsPassengers, is notice that the main door is open because it kind of loads the aircraft as it is at that moment on the ground. So yes, we didn't land with the main passenger, and then it closes. So that's where some of the strange, goofy things in replay can really screw up FsPassengers. Gentle touchdown. Spoilers up. Nose wheel down. But the center engine is right there. It is dead center in the back. So all three engines are pretty much on the same plane. It's not like, say, a DC-10 or MD-11 where the third engine is up higher. It's using an S-coil or an S-duct in here to take the air from up here and put it here. Same as a L-1011 also does that as well. Yeah, recording the flight. That's what I should do. I should create the SimBuck and sell it online at an online store. There we go. Made SimBucks for this flight. Let's do one more. Options, instant replay. And we'll go ahead and do it at 540 seconds. As my frame rate dies. Sure, I want to know what my frame rate is right now, which is probably not good. up. Thrust reversers fail to engage. We head down the runway and then proceed to get a very nice view of the entire Kansas City terminals as we taxi forever and a day down the runway. Which I don't think we need necessarily a repeat of. Oh, partly cloudy. Okay. Well, I'm about to say, we just went through the replay there. So if I want to go to St. Louis, I guess I should say flight planner, load. I bet you I have a flight plan from Kansas City to St. Louis. Yes. Although, important to note, it is now St. Louis Lambert International Airport. It is no longer Lambert St. Louis International Airport. Find route, 29,000. Actually, we're going to go 23,000 because the truth be told, by the time you get to 23,000 feet, it is time to start your descent. 29-minute flight. Yes, not for operational use. And I will go ahead and print a copy of it out here at the laser. Yes, I will go ahead and nope. Unpause, and of course, because we just did an instant replay, the flaps are all down. Guess I could have pulled up a little bit closer. One thing that I am bad about judging in FSX is how close do I need to get to the jetway. But it extends. It'll get there. I guess I could have also deployed the air stairs, which is one of the nice things about the Captain Sim. We could do everything. TWA, flight attendant. So, 81 passengers, 86. This will be our third flight into Kansas City. We still got plenty of fuel for this flight. I'm going to go ahead and load up our passengers. I'm going to put our center of gravity a little bit forward. I don't know, I like to have a pretty balanced aircraft. Kilo Sierra Tango Lima. And let's see here, they say 29 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and put actually an hour 5 on the clock.
Destination set.
And the reason behind that is we're going to have a few minutes of taxi probably either way. We'll go ahead with a normal 5-minute loading time.
Check flight control. Check handset APU. Check.
Now the APU is running here. An exit opening. Open the cooling doors for the air conditioner. We can turn off the galley power for right now. Okay, while that's going on, very short flight here. One 13.25. And then STL VOR, which is 117.4. That's set. radar is on standby there. Turn those off, heat and stuff just for the minute, because it's warm enough out we don't need it. But we'll need to reactivate it before we flight, but that's just additional power that would be straining. Of course, everything here should still be fine. Just double checking. I don't think we need windshield wipers. Alright, contact Kansas City. Clearance.
Delivery, Tango Bravo 392, IFR to St. Louis, ready to copy. Tango Bravo 392 is cleared.
Oh, the L1011? I was never a big fan of the L1011 growing up. I don't know necessarily why. I just never... It's kind of one of those odd things. I was saying earlier, next airplane to fly in the series... Okay, that's fine. I was going to see what our cash reputation's 84%. So after this flight, we should be at national level, considered to be a national carrier. So that's going to expand the destinations willing to fly to. And at that point, it's time to see about getting a larger airplane. And the options are the Boeing 747, or well, I have that as an option too. We don't have near the money to get one of those yet. But the Boeing 707, the L1011, and the MD-80 is what would make for the next, I guess you could say, aircraft to go with. If we go MD-80, likely we'll try to go with the Ozark Airlines livery and talk about the Ozark Airlines and be based out of St. Louis. I can't really say what livery like an L1011 or the 707 would necessarily be. I would try for Pan Am with the 707 or the L1011, I believe. No, that's DC-10. I think the Pan Am has a DC-10 livery. Eastern Airlines with the L1011. Again, well, there's TWA, Continental with the 707, Delta. And there would be options there, so a lot of it would just happen to be what I could get at the price point. I should be able to swing a 707, no problem. Might need to do an income flight, like from Dallas to LaGuardia tomorrow or something, but just to make a few extra bucks, or might have to sell an aircraft or two. All right.
Cabin is secured. All passengers are aboard.
Taxiing to 862 via taxiway Delta 1250. International route Tango Bravo 392 with Foxtrot ready to taxi IFR. Tango Bravo 392 taxi to and hold short at runway 1 left via taxiway Alpha 9er Bravo 5 Alpha 11. Contact tower on 125.75 when ready. Taxiing hold short runway 1 left using
Okay.
Alpha 9er Bravo Mike
Keep going
Alpha
right on.
11 Tango Bravo 392.
Taxi lights on. No, actually, we technically want to start engine 2 first, because that'll provide bleed air to the other two. start
On
3.
behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with
Percent.
us. Before takeoff, we'd like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seats with your seatbelt fastened and your seats in an upright
There's an old
position.
TWA airplane,
In case of a drop in cabin pressure,
N94TW,
breathing masks will drop from
old
the seat
MD-80 in the
and
American
place
livery.
over your head. If there is smoke in the cabin during the evacuation of the aircraft, the walkway emergency lights will direct you to the exits which are located here and here. In case of an extreme emergency landing, you will be instructed to get into the brace position, which is executed by placing your head between your knees, your hands over your head. We would also like to remind you to turn off all electronic devices. We thank
This
you for
aircraft is
taking
nowhere
the
near as picky as the 707. Okay, so set that up for Gen 2, Gen 3, disengage APU. Guess we should have put up the rear air stairs before pushing back. Galley power on. It's good there. Should still be good. Turn on hydraulics. Fuel heaters are on. Close the cooling doors here. All right. Taxi on. Navigation light on. Wing lights on. Set flaps for takeoff. I personally like flaps 5. And we are good to go. And here we go for a short little flight. Hop, skip, and a jump over to St. Louis from Kansas City. Not seeing anything that's obviously... Oh yeah, go ahead and call up autopilot here. And I should probably go ahead and set my flight director. Set that for heading hold. Now, one thing about the Captain Sim 727 is it is kind of cheaty because you do have option to use GPS, which I'm sure some of the private aircraft 727-100s, usually called Super 27s, that are still out there, like Donald Trump's former 727, which I think is now operated by Westar. And there are a number of others out there as well, still in a VIP luxury configuration, still flying. But there are a number of regulations. One, I do not believe that the 727 can fly higher than 27,000 feet because it lacks certain equipment, unless it's been retrofitted, which most of them haven't. Most, I believe, are probably still using inertial navigation or SIVA. But don't even know how much of autopilot we're going to even use. It's going to vary from aircraft, and some of it also depends on the runway. If you have a 10,000 foot runway that you're going to be taking off on, you can go to flaps, just deploy slats on this aircraft just fine. Okay.
Approaching 01 left.
International Tower, Tango Bravo 3902, ready for IFR departure, runway 1 left. Tango Bravo 3902.
The 100, it's flaps 2 is actually usually fine. But if you're on like a 5,000 or 6,000 foot runway, going to flaps 5 just gives you a little bit extra lift to get off the ground. And I forgot to deploy some music for our passengers.
On runway 01 left.
Run up. Looks good.
knots. V1.
Continue.
Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up.
V2 plus 10. Gear up.
Throttle back. Which is something you would have to do with this aircraft within usually 90 seconds of takeoff because it was loud, even with a hush kit. Which, as I mentioned in previous videos, were installed by FedEx. In fact, instead of designing it into the aircraft, Boeing elected to allow FedEx to basically make a business out of it.
Flaps up. Slats retract.
And your right hand turn here to probably approximately 120, 130. We'll start to level out of our climb here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now safe to use your portable electronic devices. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving drinks. Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey,
we
it's
are
like
now
Southwest.
serving
You're gonna get a bag of peanuts.
Passing 10,000 feet, Captain.
Landing lights off. And one of the things I've never liked too much about tube liners in general is, you know, this aircraft was designed to be flown by 3 people.
Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 392 is at 11000.
And when it's just you, me, myself, and I, there can be a lot of things to manage at one time. I guess I should have gone the other direction. Oh well.
Tango Bravo 392, climb and maintain flight level 190. Climb and maintain flight level 190. Tango Bravo 392.
Okay.
Tango Bravo 392, turn left heading 095, proceed on course. Turn left heading 095, resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 392. American 1096, contact Kansas City, approach on 119.0. 119.0, American 1096. Tango Bravo 392, contact Kansas City Center on 125.55. 125.55 for Tango Bravo 392.
Auto flight.
There we go.
Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 392 is at 17,400, climbing flight level 190. Tango Bravo 392, Kansas City Center, roger, altimeter 2996.
We're reaching transition altitude, Captain.
Turn left heading
Barometer set.
065. Turn left heading 065, Tango Bravo 392.
And now I need to go to virtual cockpit here. So I can...
Tango Bravo 392, climb and maintain flight level 230. Climb and maintain flight level 230, Tango Bravo 392. Tango Bravo 392, please expedite your turn to heading 065.
Expediting. Okay. Engine sounds is pretty good. I mean, this is a was a JT9 was it JT80 or JT90? I can tell you real quick. JT80-9 that powered this aircraft. I mean, that engine kind of ushered in the age of mass jet commercial aviation. It was used on the 727. It was also used on the MD-80, or DC-9 rather, the predecessor of the MD-80. Quick flyby.
Tango Bravo 392, contact Kansas City Center on 135.
Haven't seen that in a while.
135.575 for Tango Bravo 392. Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 392, with you. Tango Bravo 392, Kansas City Center, roger.
Throttle back just a little bit here. Gauge GPS navigation. 173 nautical miles. Again, no auto throttle in this aircraft. But we're getting close to overspeed. We seem to be on the edge of storms. That reminds me, it'd be a good idea to put on the weather X here. Weather radar. And increase its range. Okay. Really not liking where that's taking me on the GPS. I'm going to assume we missed a nav. So I'm just going to go to the good old-fashioned radio navigation. Should get us back on course pretty quickly here.
Bravo 392, please expedite your turn to heading 065.
Copy that, ATC. From the external views, yeah. The problem is it changes, like if... It's going to sound different from here.
Turn right heading 095, proceed on course. Turn right heading 095, proceed on course. Tango Bravo 392.
So we should probably end up at 095, more or less. I do wish that you could click a button and make the flight yoke go away. It kind of gets in the way of a few things. hopefully get us right on course. You can tell when it does a weather update because the nose will buck slightly. Yeah, I'm leaning toward the 707. The 707 is a different beast to fly. I absolutely, well, ends up being the next aircraft picked for flying. Maybe as soon as tomorrow. I might have to sell one of the existing aircraft in order to purchase it, but say if we are at a national carrier status after this flight, which we should be. I think the cutoff there is 84%. It might be 86%. I can't remember. Been a while. But the 707 is very, very picky, that I've learned over the very few times I've flown it.
Bravo 3, Niner 2, turn left heading 045. Turn left heading 045. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
So that's saying we're off course. Director set up. He's snaking around here.
Spoilers deployed.
I had to, if the spoiler lever on the quadrant gets bumped, it'll detect that it wants to deploy the spoilers about 5% or 3% or something, but it won't be fully retracted, and I have to go to the keyboard.
Contact Kansas City Center on 125.55. Going to 125.55. Go flight 2, Niner 04. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Turn right heading 095. Resume on navigation.
Okay, that's what it's trying to do.
Turn right heading 095. Resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
Yeah, the GPS missed a waypoint, so it's flipping out. It wants us to go back. I don't want to go back. Go to St. Louis.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Turn right heading 125. Turn right heading 125. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
Well, I could look outside and tell you it shouldn't be raining when we get into St. Louis, but... So we'll go ahead and go back to radio navigation here. Yeah, close to alignment, it should just automatically then align. It's about 0.95 degrees.
Wow, this passenger drank like 12 sodas. I think we might run out.
Might run out of sodas? That's not cool. Definitely not cool.
Tango Bravo 392, turn left heading 095, resume on navigation. Turn left heading 095, resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 392.
I think our radios and HSI are all set up correctly.
Tango Bravo 392, contact Kansas City Center on 118.4. 118.4 for Tango Bravo 392.
So it should be turning us, starting to turn us to the right, or left rather.
Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 392, with you. Tango Bravo 392, Kansas City Center, roger.
See if it will.
Tango Bravo 392, turn left heading
It's not.
065. Turn left heading 065. Tango Bravo 392.
Now then we'll just use the heading directions that ATC gives us. Why the 065 is 095. Yeah. one thing that X-Plane has that this does not is text-to-speech. Not that that's any better or worse, but in theory, I should be able to add, 40 different phrases, 50. I mean, I can't do an infinitum number, but
Tango Bravo 392, turn right heading 095, resume on navigation.
alright. I'll resume our own navigation here.
095, resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 392.
Yeah, that's something to look at with the text-to-speech. I'll be working on, about to say, earlier flight today I was actually working on aircraft configuration files for the add-on and doing the groundwork there. Tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and head out to call the favorite, well, I won't say necessarily my favorite coffee shop around, because I don't have any coffee shops around that I truly love. The closest one is about 45 minutes away, up in St. Charles. But anyway, I'm going to get up tomorrow, bring the laptop, and it's end of the month refactoring / cleanup time. So that means I will, because I have a lot of junk code in there right now, I will basically create a new file, copy paste everything that needs to be over to the new that works. If that's the case, next week I will have a demo of at least the flight portion. Of course, it's going to be missing a few things. Like, I don't have emergency stuff programmed in yet. Faults, anything like that. Well, I'm glad that I went ahead and put an hour into the flight, because we're going to have to go all the way around St. Louis for runway 29, which... Of course, they're going to have us land on runway 29. 1129 is the runway that, well, it seemed like a great idea in 2000 whenever they were going to build it, when we were servicing 30 million passengers a year, and then by the time they started on everything and got it finished, we had been dehubbed. So now they have a $1.2 billion runway, I think. That is the rationale and reasoning for us charging $9 per 1,000 pounds gross weight for landing fees. And then wonder why, oh, there's no cargo airlines landing or attracting some international. Oh, that's because that went down. Anyway. Now this is a add-on. It's a freeware. You can get it from, I think it's an AvSim? Flyaway Simulations? One of those websites that has a free repository. But it adds the 1129 runway. 29 is 111.95. So we will go ahead and set that up for ILS. Maybe.
We're passing transition altitude, Captain.
95.
Niner 2. Contact Kansas City Center on 133.4. 133.4. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Descent 16,000. Descending 11,000.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes,
we are descending
it
to
does
our
have a
Please fasten your
decent.
seatbelts and make sure all portable electronic devices are securely stowed so that we may secure the cabin for arrival.
Turn left heading 125. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Turn left heading 0, Niner 5. Turn left heading 0, Niner 5. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
Passenger satisfaction 99%. Planned arrival in 27 minutes. Again, I'm glad that I built in the extra time. What does the radar say? Anything going on? Yeah.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Turn right heading 120. Turn right heading 120. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Contact St. Louis approach on 126.5. 126.5 for Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
I've got to get into back into DCS more.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
I have a feeling that's going to probably be October, November, first of the year.
Bravo 3, Niner 2. St. Louis approach, roger. Altimeter
Barometer
0,
set.
Niner 1. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Contact Kansas City Center on 133.4. 133.4. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
And set flight director to approach auto.
Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. With you at 11,000. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Kansas City Center, roger. Altimeter 2, Niner 1.
So there's the airport. And for 11:29 approach, we're going to probably swing over here and fly in probably roughly over my house, so virtually speaking. Yes, once the F-18 is released here, I will be getting the F-18 and doing videos over that. Has Thrustmaster released their F-18 grip for the Warthog yet? Or the Warthog base, at least? Because I've been waiting for them to do that, because I'm also going to pick up the grip.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Contact Kansas City Center on 121. 39er2, Kansas City Center, roger, altimeter 299er1.
Yay, more clouds. Trust your instruments. Which was something I was hoping to get done this year, but time and money just weren't there to get my instrument rating. Unfortunately, siding on the house and new vehicle took precedence. I'm kind of glad that we're holding up here at 11,000 because how are we on fuel? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and
Contact Kansas City Center on 125.5. 125.5, Tango Bravo 39er2. Kansas City Center, Tango Bravo 39er2, with you 1000. Tango Bravo 39er2, Kansas City Center, roger.
turn on the cross-feed valve.
Tango Bravo 39er2, turn right heading 155. Turn right heading 155, Tango Bravo 39er2.
Oh, so we are going to go over my house. Photorealistic textures. I was about to say, at this altitude, it looks fantastic. Do the patchwork of clouds here.
Tango Bravo 39er2, turn left heading 125. Turn left heading 125, Tango Bravo 39er2.
That's 44 down through there. Yeah, we're kind of going around my house here. I live somewhere over there. Ish. There's actually another YouTuber that does a lot of flight sim stuff, also another pilot. I'm going to butcher his name, but Jeff Ragnow. And he's done like X-Plane videos and stuff like that before of, oh, well, he gets to 44 and 141, turns south to go towards Fenton. You turn north and head toward West County, and, well, you come up by my house. I bet you he lives 7-8 miles south of where I do. And if I'd known we were going to go around the city, I might have added an extra 10 minutes onto our time. I'm not proving to be the best at Thrustmaster F-18 add-on not yet available. Alright. I do plan on getting that add-on, though, when it does become available. And I will do a video review over it and everything.
Tango Bravo 392, turn left heading 070.
And I may have a buddy of mine out who flew F-18s in the Navy. Somebody I went to high school with. Moved back recently. Now flies MD-11s for... Nope, that's not what I wanted to hit.
Tango Bravo 392. Tango
Now
Bravo
flies
392.
MD-11s.
Descend and maintain 2,300. Descend and maintain 2,300. Tango Bravo 392. Tango Bravo 392. Contact St. Louis approach on 125.2. 125.2. Tango Bravo 392.
Descending below 10,000 feet.
St. Louis approach. Tango Bravo 392.
Yeah, that's why you never engage the speed brake with the flaps extended on this aircraft. That is a very, very bad idea because you will sink like a rock.
Roger. Altimeter 2, Niner 2.
299er2.
Barometer set.
Let's say 2300.
Spoilers deployed.
Make sure they're fully retracted. Oh, you're quite welcome. I keep an eye out on joystick news. I try to buy and review everything that I can. I mean, the only reason why I put monetized videos on my channel is for spending money to buy joysticks and HOTASes and try them out. I'm going to be really interested to see if Logitech can pull the Saytech brand out of the shitter. Because I had an X45 15 years ago, and it was a great stick for the money. But after that, Mad Cats took them over there for a decade. They just went, quality control went to crap.
Turn left heading 030. Turn left heading 030. Tango Bravo 392.
So we're over into Illinois here.
2,500.
You can tell because it's auto-generated.
Slats extended.
Planned arrival about 13 minutes. That's not going to be too... That's going to be pretty accurate. Okay, so we got the landing lights down. Go ahead and go to flaps 15.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. You are 384 miles southeast, turn left, heading 330. Descend and maintain south 300. Cleared ILS. Runway 2, 9 up approach. Maintain south 300 until established on the localizer. Contact St. Louis Tower on 118.5.
Turn left, heading 330, climb and maintain 2,300, cleared ILS, runway 29er, approach, maintain 2,300, until established, tower on 118.5, Tango Bravo 39er 2.
I know this approach. I've flown it before. A few times.
Inbound ILS, runway 29er, approach.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. St. Louis Tower. Flight straight in. Runway 29. Altimeter 29er 2.
Make straight in, runway 29er, Tango Bravo 39er 2.
I went to flaps 15 a little bit early here. Back. I'll go ahead and go back up to flaps 5 here. See the St. Louis skyline there. As we cruise over the Illinois countryside in a very loud, obnoxious jet. Of course, I'm sure there would be some people, if this were real and they could look outside and look up and see an aircraft with the... oh, look! There's the arch! If you're not from St. Louis, you're not going to get that, but there's the arch. I think there would be some people who look up and see an aircraft with TWA flying into St. Louis. There is a 737-800 with American Airlines that is painted in TWA livery. It never flies to St. Louis, unfortunately. I think it usually is on the East Coast, New York to Miami, as part of their heritage livery collection. Okay, we are glide slope or localizer capture. See, with this autopilot, we're talking literally 1950s technology and a 1960s era plane. And a couple of things with it is, one, you have to be below glide slope in order to capture. And you'll notice that we were on heading select, and it automatically disengaged the heading select. When it detected the localizer, it'll automatically disconnect the altitude hold when we have not only glide slope capture, but it reaches the center bar here. There's Clayton. Is that downtown? Nope, I guess that's downtown. Clayton's a little bit further down. The downtown of St. Louis County versus St. Louis City. Okay, this has me slightly concerned a little bit because we should not be facing downtown. I did input the right frequency, correct? 1.95. Okay, it is lining up correctly. Like, we should be aiming a little bit north. 1129 is over here somewhere. And once again, I will do a review once we're landed and recorded the flight. Instant replay of the landing. Flaps 15. Gear down. Add power.
Gear down.
3 green. Okay then. And here we go. Down to flaps. 25.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Cleared to land, runway 2, Niner. Cleared to land, runway 2, Niner. Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2.
Flaps 30. Now the 1129 runway isn't used very much because it is the furthest from the terminal, and the airport isn't that busy anymore, so... $billion boondoggle, this runway. It's only used for about 5% of flights, but FSX likes to give it to me a lot.
One thousand.
Coming in here.
500. 500. 400. 400. Approaching minimum. Approaching minimums. 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 100. 100. 50. 40. 30. 30. 20. 20. 10. 10.
Reverse thrust available.
Reverse thrusters engaged.
Again, I can't get it. So that'll be my homework for tonight.
80 knots.
Will be to get
60
the
knots.
thrust reversers to work again.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Exit runway when able.
Fortunately, we have some high-speed.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Tango Bravo 3, Niner 2. Contact ground on 121.
Give our passengers some music on the ground.
Tango, Bravo, Sierra, Delta, Romeo, Charlie. Taxiing to Gate Alpha 1-2 via taxiway Alpha 5, Alpha, Tango, Bravo, Sierra, Delta, Romeo, Charlie. Tango, Bravo 3, Niner 2.
Use a engine differential here to help turn the aircraft. Get rid of that. Okay, so Terminal A. Which is fun because Terminal A traditionally is not where TWA flew out of. TWA flew out of Concourse C and D. We quickly taxi to the gate here. So I do like, I was about to say, they have the large hangars. They've got some of the hotels back here. One of them is Marriott, the other one is a Hilton. There's a Holiday Inn. I think it's a Hilton. Airport Hilton. I got the parking garage. And I will say that is one thing that X-Plane is missing at this point, is their generic default scenery is missing some of the iconic landmarks at airports, where FSX had it. I'll find out if Prepared does here probably in the coming couple of weeks. And there's the old Air National Guard. They haven't been there for a decade. The 131st Fighter Wing. Tactical Fighter Wing? Well, I guess it used to be tactical.
06.
Now, I haven't noticed it in X-Plane 11 as much, but in X-Plane 10, you needed to have permission from the ground clearance to cross runways, which is far more accurate. It's the only thing that the X-Plane ATC did better than FSX. Its ground control handling, I thought, was a lot better. But I haven't noticed it so much in 11. But yes, the iconic McDonnell Douglas Boeing, that is no longer there. They have removed the letters and signage from the old storage hangar. That's where they used to produce F4 Phantoms and F-15s back in the day. I think the largest aircraft that flies into here anymore would be a 757. I think Delta has a 757 that flies in a couple of times a week. Else, 737s. Yep, I should have added 10 minutes to the flight. I'm going to guess that's a Delta Airlines 738 there. Which, this is accurate. That's the terminal gate that they would be flying into in the real world. Shut down. Start the APU. The APU. Nope, come on.
Gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit, and please make sure you have all your personal items and carry-on luggage.
Alright, in the flight here. Again, nice landing, 123 knots. Pitch was a little bit down this time. Better mood because I had food, exceptional flight. Only $500,000 sim bucks this time around. And again, penalty points because FsPassengers and this aircraft don't recognize the lights correctly. And 85%, hopefully that should be enough. Interregional company. Okay, so we can now fly further distances. Well, you could do that anyway before, but in role-playing land. Instant replay about 600 seconds. See where that puts us. That puts us at a nice angle, but yes. Although this is hilarious, this tube sticking out here. Although that motel does kind of have a circular motif on it. I think that's the Airport Hilton, that's the Airport Drury. So yes, there's some iconic landmarks around here. Old Air National Guard station. Now, I, for some reason, don't think that ILS, since this is a freeware community-made add-on, is precisely aligned with the runway. Hence why I made that slight yaw maneuver to make sure that we were putting down on the runway proper. It's something that I've noticed with this particular 1129. Fortunately, we have plenty of runway here. So we go ahead and decide to use the high-speed off-ramp. We didn't have a lot of runway left. Well, let's take another look at it from the tower here. A site that hasn't been seen since 2000. TWA liveried 727 flying into the airport. The lights are almost in the right spot. Or I guess that's a glare. Ah, you can see the pilots. Actually a pretty good view from the tower here. Until right in that part. Until the big hangars get in the way. All right. Guess one more. See it from the passenger's perspective. That's one we've not done today. Well, that wasn't too bad. None of the flights today were that bad. Everything went pretty well. We're now an interregional company. So I guess it'll be time to well, what do we have? 23 million. Well, let's see what aircraft are available here. See here, 707. 300B. Although it might register a crash. If that's the case, we might get into an infinite loop. Oh, nope, it didn't. Well, what? Okay, I am curious. What is that? 757. Yep, 757. Anyway. So let's see what are available prices for this. 20 million and 100% is known to maintain the aircraft very well. There'll be no surprises. Well, if that's the case, it's ours now. So the 707 will be what will be flying the next time around, which will probably be tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. I'm sure I'll be getting a couple, 3 flights in with it. So that made that decision, I want to say, fairly easy. It'll probably be longer flights tomorrow since now we're interregional. Start thinking about places to go. My YouTube channel, just see the previous video from this series and start giving destinations. We're going to have to fly out of St. Louis, which historically speaking is going to be inaccurate because Pan Am, I do not believe Pan Am ever flew 707s or really much into St. Louis. I don't think we were on their destination list. I'd have to go. There's a good website called departedflights.com that has a pretty good historical archive. The web design's pretty crappy, like it's out of front page circa 1998, but as for terms of information, it's second to none about historical aviation routes, the old brochures, timetables, things like that. They've digitized a lot of them, so that's very, very handy. So yeah, we will be doing the Pan Am 707 and the next series of videos. I have a feeling we're going to get to know this aircraft very, very well because it's going to be, well, several flights with this in order to build up revenue. Until then, see you next time.